You legends, we got some sunshine. Veloharmony ride, we're heading out. We are on Conroe Huffsmith Road right now, and we took a different route to get out here, and we're just gonna roll down Fishcreek. We'll get some clips for you all. Should be interesting. Stay tuned. On this ride, Paul and I left Northampton. We took the bike path in Kirkendall to get to Sterling Ridge. Once we got into Sterling Ridge, we went up to French Crossing. That took us to Research Forest. On Fishcreek, we started to film. We rode all the way into Honea on Raven Chapel Road. We went straight to 2854, which took us into Montgomery. Once we got to Montgomery, we decided to go up 149 and take Bailey Grove Road there to Johnson Road. Once we got out to Johnson Road, we took the Gorilla route. We took some films of the Gorilla. Hopefully we'll be able to show that because they're in the distance. Then we went through the forest, hitting Forest Road. Mount Pleasant took us back to 1097, which brought us back past Montgomery. And we took the long way out, went through Tri-Lakes to Dobbin, and then took Jackson Road back to 149 through Gary, past Karen. Once we got into Magnolia, we filmed again on 1488 all the way back into the woodlands of Tamina. It was a very nice day that started out very cold, but it warmed up quickly enough. And I think you will love the clips that we got for you. We just went through the intersection at Honea-Egypt Community Road and Fishcreek Boulevard. The FM 2978, we're headed north. It is cold. At 3 Celsius, the temperature of what it feels like from the head unit, it is 37.4, 37 to 38 degrees Fahrenheit. It is cold, but we're not cold because we're properly equipped. This is the most comfortable I have felt at 3C in a very long time. The jacket is the Rafa Pro Team jacket, and it's breathable on the rear, blocks the wind on the front, and has awesome thermal and breathable capabilities to where the temperature will warm up later, as you will see, and we don't need to shed anything. I only remove my gloves. We're wearing a pair of gloves made by there's a vendor that sponsors the Bora Hansgrove team, Sportful, a Sportful thermal winter glove, or I don't know what the specific name is, but we were trying that out, and it ended up being very efficient in that it is great in very cold weather, but it's also very easy to use, meaning you don't lose your dexterity. Not bulky at all, but yet warm. It has some Polar Tech fabric or whatever's in there. But it's 3C. I did not need a liner like I do with other gloves in this temperature, and I was very impressed. You can manipulate stuff. You see us, we'll be working the cameras, all of that. So it makes a difference. The equipment's not created equal. Invest the time and do your research. Because I don't care how much money you throw at it. If you buy the wrong stuff, it just won't work. It's not how expensive they are that matter. It's how they're manufactured. The construction, the design makes a difference. And just because something is long sleeve does not mean it's warm enough to the temperatures you might encounter. So you need to make sure you do your research in verifying what temperatures they're rated for. We're wearing our Pro Team tights with pad, which is another product that just excels. I like to put on these kind of things that keep you warm, but don't affect the way your bike feels. Because back in the day, we used to wear all kinds of crap. You know, you put on regular shorts and you put on tights over it, and they move around, and it never felt the same. And nowadays, there's no excuse. They're out there. You just got to do your homework. You have to know what to buy. That's what makes the difference.
in every line of work. Doesn't matter. You can have all the money in the world. You decorate a room poorly, it's going to look like crap. But you bought expensive stuff. So it's not necessarily what you spend, it's how you put things together that matter. And if you can't do it yourself, get some help. That's why people hire interior decorators to work on their homes. So what I'm telling Paul is that regardless of which group we may encounter, let's go ahead and just do our ride. Let's just film into Honea and just get on with it and not worry about which groups are out here, because there weren't a whole lot of people riding today. We didn't see the usual number, so the cold weather made people change their plans. A lot of people were waiting till noon to come out when it's warmer. It's nice if you have that luxury, but I prefer to get my workout in early and have my day in front of me to enjoy the rest of the day. Whenever I postpone stuff, things come up that interfere with my ability to get out. Plus, we want to do at least 6 hours on Saturday, so rain or shine, unless it's unsafe, we're heading out. Those of you who've been here, you know that. We have an appointment with a bike and we keep it. Whatever's important to you, make the time to do it. No excuses. If you can get up to go to work to pay for crap, you should be able to get up to maintain your health. Because without your health, you got nothing. So don't listen to people who make excuses. I was on a ride on Sunday after this ride. Another guy asked about our ride, because we did not ride with a group. And I hooked up with them on Sunday doing my little spin. And another guy asked, oh, what did you guys do? Did you do 110, 120? I told him, I said, well, no, we don't do it by miles. We did about 7 hours. Someone else, who I would not name, within earshot says, oh, I can give 7 hours to the bike. I have kids. I looked at him and said, so do I. Yeah, that's another lame excuse. And here's my thing. First of all, no one was talking to him. Second of all, who asked you to do 7 hours? Ride for the level you're at. Quit making excuses. Nobody told you to do 7 hours. You're a grown man. Make up your own mind what you want to do with your time. If you want to sell all your time because money is your God, then suck it up and deal with that. And quit whining when other people are living their life. I can't stand that kind of nonsense. They want to own stuff that they can't take with them, and then they don't have time to even enjoy the very stuff that they're buying. They want to be making excuses while other people are busy living. Don't fall for that nonsense. Make the decisions that are important to you. Use your time. It is your time. When you start working your tail off, that's a choice you make.
Keep it steady.
Most of the crap we have, we don't need. They're nice to have. So make the proper decision and live the life you like. And quit trying to rain on other people's parade. I don't have patience for that foolishness. To his credit, as soon as I said, so do I, when his excuse was blaming his kids. I have kids. And I said, so do I. He was smart enough to ride off to go talk to somebody else because he realized I wasn't putting up with that crap. This happened on Sunday after this ride. They want to ask questions and then they feel guilty. We did 7 hours. Someone else asked, you overheard it. Who told you you have to do 7 hours? You're not me.
Looking sharp, my brother. Looking sharp.
They make these comments like they're going to talk you out of doing something that you like to do. You know, nobody needs your approval. Everybody's grown. Unless you're a weak-willed person that need other people to dissuade you, that crap does not work for people who have focus. Nobody cares. When I put on something, I don't need somebody to say it's nice. I already know it's nice. That's why I'm wearing it. That was just another analogy. You know, so focus on doing what is important to you and forget about the noise in the market. There will always be that. It came up, I got on that tangent because we get that a lot. How can you ride 6 hours? How can you ride 7 hours? How can you sit on the couch every evening and do nothing with the engine God has given you? Put it to work. So at this point in the ride, we're just keeping it steady. We're moving along. Look at the temperature. 1 Celsius, right above freezing. So as cold as it is, it did not bother us at all because we are properly equipped. When you're not dressed right, you have to turn around. We saw a rider wearing, it was off camera, wearing a BMC jersey. You guys have seen the team BMC jersey. It was a regular summer jersey when we hit Honea near the turn at Taco Corner. That's 15 miles from the Woodlands. That's like maybe what, an hour's ride, even into the wind, let's say. He was going back home already. When you dress improperly, you can't ride very long, and it will still be a miserable experience. So if you're not gonna wear the proper things, just put the bike on a trainer. There's no point putting yourself through that. You don't enjoy the experience. When we stop with the group, sometimes they'll rush inside because it's warmer. We don't go inside. We just stay outside. Besides the fact with the coronavirus and stuff, I don't want to be in a lot of enclosed spaces anyway. But we're not uncomfortable. We are dressed to be in this weather. So we're not looking for a warm room to relieve anything because we're comfortable where we are. That's what matters. And we're only wearing 2 layers. You don't need to wear a lot of crap. We have a thermal base layer on, and we have this jacket / jersey. I call it jersey more than jacket because it's built like a jersey with the pockets nowadays. So get the proper equipment and quit making excuses. If you only have time to ride in a certain block of time and it rains or whatever, get a rain jacket. Get what you need so you can stay consistent. Nobody makes excuses about going to work. You get up, you got to go to work. You get in your car, you go. You make the necessary arrangements to make sure your car is running right. Why can't you make the same kind of arrangements for the number one thing you have, which is your health, that no amount of money can replace?
Yep.
Your health and your well-being. Because if you're not well-rounded, you won't enjoy work or anything else. And if you couldn't perform your work duties, they'd replace you. If you got to where you were too ill to work, they put somebody else in there because they need their work done. So your health is number one. Make that the priority. Quit selling all your time. You have 24 hours in a whole day. Give yourself some of it. Get the mindset that if today were my last day on earth, what would I do? You know what I would be doing. Find that thing that is that important to you. I would be spending time with my family. We'd probably go for a bike ride together. You know what I mean? That's what I'm getting at. Don't listen to people who try to be negative and to try to talk you out or discourage you. We get a lot of that foolishness. The GroupMe app that Team RR uses, every time the guy posts a ride, someone, they know who they are, always has something negative to say. And last week was something that was so funny I couldn't stop laughing. Mark posted a ride. He said, we're leaving Crust Pizza at 7:30. We're going to do this route. We're going to go Bailey Grove and go to Taco Corner. He was basically laying out what they were going to do for today's ride for them. Immediately there was a post from you-know-who that said, make sure you guys dress right for your cold start. I couldn't stop laughing. We waited decades to get that advice. If he didn't post that, we'd all come there in underwear. Some people can't help themselves. Like, who are you going to tell what to wear? Even people who just started cycling, you don't have to be cycling to know that when it's cold, you got to bundle up. I was just like, wow. I was like, what was the point of that post? And the funny thing is, he doesn't even show up for the rides anymore, but he spends more time chatting on the board that they use to set up the ride. I think what they need to do is find a way in the app to block those who don't participate. If you're not riding, you shouldn't be allowed to post. But anyway, enough about that. I felt the necessity to mention all those things because this ride is about being focused and sticking to the plan. So keep your focus. Do not be deterred. So our goal here is to just ride at a sustainable pace, regardless of the terrain and the conditions. We're not focused on the speed of the ride, we're focused more on the duration. As I said earlier, we plan to do 6.5 to 7 hours, zone 2 primarily. Doesn't mean we'll always be in zone 2, but we are going to average the effort in zone 2. Meaning there will be times we'll be in zone 1, there will be times we'll be in zone 3 or zone 4. Like here, we're on this climb, we're at the top of zone 2 per se, but you don't focus so much on that. It's hard to ride and be worried about it. You want to just be in a conversational zone for most of the time that you're out there building your pace. So there will be periods when you'll go above that zone, you push the breathing up a bit. I'm letting Paul know he needs to come through. We're gonna change positions here. So he goes through, I'll slip behind. So your goal should be, if you're riding with a mink, to where you can talk without gasping. And then if you come to a climb or you're feeling good at a stretch and you wanna go hard.
Hello, you legends. We didn't see anybody else out here, so could be the weather, who knows, but we don't let the weather stop us. That's what you've been here a while, you know that. You gotta get your K's in, get the equipment, and be ready. You see how warm we're dressed. It is cold.
Yeah, we're wearing a very warm jacket that breathes, jacket slash jersey. So yeah, if you don't have the focus, the weather will deter you. You can talk yourself out of doing something if you work hard enough at it. So we love what we do and we plan for it. You see my cadence is up. Our speeds are up because this is slightly flat to downhill right here. I don't draft very closely because I want to keep my effort up. But Paul and I had already...
Up here, my brother's standing. I'm going to downshift.
Yeah, I'm going to downshift so I can stay in primarily the endurance zone. Because if I stand, then I recruit more muscles and you kind of creep into zone 3 and so forth. Paul's standing because that's what he wants to do at this moment. And I'll drop my gearing to keep my cadence reasonable. And you don't have to watch gadgets. When I'm riding, I'm not looking at my heart rate. It's strictly by feel. I know I'm going, say, 2 out of 5. And that's the focus for the ride. You want to ride at a pace to where you feel like you could do it forever. This is not a 30-minute pace. This is an all-day pace. That's what you use for your endurance building. And if you have zones and you want to glance at your heart rate, that's fine too. You can have that on your display and you glance periodically. You don't want to be riding and looking at it all the time. Glance from time to time, and then the rest of the time take in the sights. Enjoy being out there.
My brother, the reflector at the back of the letters Rafa. Yeah.
What was happening is early in the ride before the sun came out, Paul was telling me how well the reflector on the jersey blended with the back of the ones on my shoe.
Rafa that's written on that band, they probably light up too.
So we provide feedback to each other, you know, because you can't see behind there, but he was pointing out just how effective things have blended together, especially with the stripes on those shorts when light hits it, when he was riding behind me. So we changed position here. I go to the front. There's a mist coming off the lake over there. The camera doesn't do it justice. It was just a lot of mist because the water was warmer than the surrounding air. And so it just looked like steam was rising off of that lake. That car just didn't look like it was going to slow down, so I moved further to the left of that lane as he approached the corner. You always got to be aware of that. There are some riders coming up, and so I let him know that there are riders coming up behind us. And I thought it was one at first, but then I noticed there were many riders. Yeah, that's what he said. There's more than one. So I told him rider or riders. It ends up being Fabian and a bunch of other guys who we didn't know. That's Fabian waving there. But he's riding with people that are not usually part of the WCC. So he's got his own little group here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I told you, I said it's a different group. We're sticking to our plan.
The rest of the boys.
Not the regular boys.
That's what I told Paul. I said, there's not the guys from the WCC group. Mo is still out of town. I believe he's in Austin right now. He's back in the U.S. I saw one of his postings on Strava, and he was in Wimberley, Texas, which is in the Austin area.
That guy in the red?
Yeah.
I think he was the one we saw. The BMC.
Okay.
Maybe. That's not the regular boys.
So there's a guy in the group that I'm telling Paul about that's wearing the BMC jersey. You guys didn't really get to see him. I mean, it went by so quickly, but he's the one who turns around quickly. We had seen him during our warm-up in the Woodlands. He was headed south, or we're coming north. That's what we're talking about. But we don't join them because, first of all, we don't know what they're doing, what their goal is, and we want to maintain a steady endurance pace here. So even if your heart rate creeps above, you see mine going up all the way to the sweet spot. The idea is keep the effort steady. It doesn't need to just be in zone 2 the entire time. But whatever you do, do it steadily to where you're not sprinting per se. You don't want to do anything you can't sustain. Let's put it that way. So sometimes you have to end up riding by yourself to do that. Or sometimes you ride with a group and you just sit in with the right group that will enable you to stay in that zone. But November, December is the time to get those base miles in. Because come January, it's time to start ramping it up in the traditional cycling calendar per se. You know, depending on what your objectives are, you know. Because you should have rested in October, and so now it's time to start getting ready for next season. We plan to do the Festive 500 this year, and I will be doing some sort of a documentary of our exploits each day, but it will be released in one film that will have the expeditions of each day consolidated. Should be interesting. So Paul and I will be doing the Festive 500. That's from Christmas Eve to New Year's Eve. So you find somebody that has similar goals, as like-minded like you, and you build your base together, or you find a group that has reasonable pace that you can sit in and stay in the zone you want to sit in.
Legends, we are on the guerrilla route, aka Bethel Road, which will take us into the forest. We decided to share this beautiful road with you all. Look at this. Fresh pavement in the middle of nowhere. You get a house now and then, a car now and then, maybe. So let's do this, my brother.
All right.
And these are the kind of roads that you can use to conversate or get a good workout. This is when you can spread out, ride two abreast, whatever, and not have to worry about other road users. And on the busiest roads, you want to get through them quickly to get to these kind of roads. We call this the gorilla route because there are a couple of gorilla statues of the silverback gorillas. They're painted black. You can't really see them even from what we filmed because it's a good distance. And then the house that they're in is like a large acreage property. It's for sale. Paul said they listed the property for sale. What I was telling him is we should go ahead and play. There's a little 10% climb out here, but we'd already passed it before we started filming.
I think we passed it.
That's what Paul's talking about. there's a little climb that it dead ends, but we periodically go there. So
No,
when we come out here, we
corner where we
want
stop.
to climb as much as possible. And so we spend a lot of time looking for climbs.
Right.
Look at this road. This is new pavement, less than 3 months old.
Look at this pavement.
Yeah.
There's like a 5 or 6% climb as we pass the gorilla statues that will take us onto the other section of Bethel Road,
Yeah.
also 1097,
It's for sale.
that goes into the forest. That's what Paul's
look at
talking
that
about.
board right there.
The property's on
Says
the
for
right.
sale.
They're selling it. It's listed.
Yep.
This is the property we call the gorilla. This is what this route is named over. You see, I'll put the arrows out there. There are 2 gorillas in the distance there. There's 2
I'm filming
small.
it right now.
When I zoomed, I
I'm
tried to
filming it
zoom,
right now.
and it just pixelated to the point where you couldn't see it. So the next time we go out there, I will use my iPhone and see if I can zoom better to get a better picture of it. This climb gets to you in a hurry. I think it says like 6% already. It's
5.9.
I didn't realize it was that steep. So we try to climb around 1,000 meters on these rides, and for our area, that's a lot of climbing because, you know, we live in like flatland, so we go to the rolling areas on purpose.
My shoe feels much better, my brother.
Good.
Yeah. But everything else is right. Those things just kind of get where they need to be.
Yep.
This road is just quiet like this all the time. It doesn't matter what time of day you come out here. There's nothing out here. They got a
Feel it
cemetery
in
coming
your
up.
legs, man.
I mean, you feel it. When we got home from this ride, we felt the effort. And we didn't push very hard, just steady work. So just going out, enjoying the bike, spending the hours in the saddle that builds you for bigger things to come.
That's why we come here. To enjoy these roads.
So if you train with a power meter, you want to stay in your zone 1 to 2 for the most part. Your average needs to be in those zones. That should be your goal. About 2.5 watts per kilo on the top end. There's a cemetery on the left. We got a little cemetery here. With birds in one of these trees, they were just excited. I guess they like the weather. Once we get to the end of this road, this cow, you don't get to see him on camera. It's hard for the camera to zoom in there. He's looking at us like we owe him money. So I'm like, you'll hear me say, what? He's straight across, got a white face. Yeah, he's looking at us. I mean, he basically stopped eating and he's looking directly at us. I said, what? You can't see him. This camera is a wide angle thing.
He's just staring.
He's just staring at us like.
It's like, you're in my land. Don't ask me why.
He's looking at us like we owed him money.
This is the forest.
So this happened off camera. We're in the forest here. This lady pull over in her car. She was going the opposite direction, just to tell us that, hey, hunting season started today. So if you're gonna be in the forest, you might want to wear orange. I kind of knew where she was coming from.
Look at those little coming so fast.
They have trails. There are dogs in that yard running to us. Yeah, there's a fence there. But they got short legs. They're not that fast. They just think they're fast. But anyway, the lady wanted us to know, because people come out here and they do the trails. So if you're going to do the trails or whatever during hunting season, you need to wear orange. I mean, we're on the road, so I'm not that concerned about the hunter. I don't know what they hunt here in the forest. I certainly hope it's not just deer. I don't know what kind of animals are out here, but the forest is a vast area. Might as well be a town. It's huge. We just really traverse a part of the national forest. But she wanted us to understand, you know, hunting season started today. I was like, I don't hunt, so I had no idea, but I'm not going to be on the trails, so, you know. But people come out here on this road and they park. They have trails all over the place. I'm dodging the little ruts in the road there. They have little trail stations that you can park and go hiking. And she just wanted us to know that the hunters are on the loose. Shouldn't be a problem on this road, but if we were to traverse into the forest on foot or something like that, you definitely want to be more visible than blending in. So when we come into the forest here, what we're trying to do, there is a little road. We'll do a little jig in a bit. Paul and I always do that. There's a 7% little climb that goes through a neighborhood. It's a little out of the way, but we go there to visit so we can do the work. This one here is probably at 4%. So right up here, we're going to turn left to just go taking that climb. We do that every time to kind of stress our muscular system. So right here, we get off the main drag. That's Bethel Road we got off of on this other road here, which is just a shoehorn-shaped road that will bring us further up on Bethel. As we go up the climb, you will see the horses.
Up there.
Yep, coming up.
Yeah, I told them 7% up there. The horses on either side of the street looked like they were having a conversation across the road from each other. So I asked them what they were talking about. It just looked like you would have two people standing at the fence across from their property talking. It was funny to see, you know. I'm sure the animals communicate somehow, you know. We probably just can't decipher it. But they're up here coming up. I'm going to ask them, what are you guys talking about?
You guys talking about something?
Right there, they were looking at each other. The guy turned his head. The horses out here are well fed. They're healthy and good condition. So, you know, whoever has these horses out here, they take really good care of them. And, you know, horses don't eat meat. Look at all the muscles on them.
Yeah.
This is 7.8% on my head unit anyway.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's what I read out to Paul. So you just want to take these climbs steadily because you're still doing the work. It's kind of like going to the gym and not maxing out, but you put some load on you. That's what this stuff is about. It strengthens the entire body as well as your aerobic system. Just riding steadily for hours on end. Teaches you to really condition yourself. This is the top of the shoehorn. Now we're turning around. We're going to go south in a bit. There was a dog out here that tried to chase us one time off camera, and he was just lumbering. In his mind, he thought he was fast. But we looked at him like, I told him, I said, man, you out of shape. You're not going to catch us.
Use the scroll.
Yeah, there was a squirrel on the side of the road. Couldn't make up his mind what he was going to do. So right here, see how the road looks flat? Look at the grade.
Yep.
I stand up so I won't have to shift. Plus, it felt good. And that's what you want to do on your rides. It's just, especially when you're building. It's not about peak effort. It's about sustainable effort. Get into a rhythm. And both power and heart rate, I'm staying in zone 2 as an average. You've got to learn to ride in a manner that you feel like, I can do this all day. And then you will know when you can lift the pace and how that feels. You got to be able to differentiate your base effort from tempo versus threshold versus race pace or red line.
Yeah.
Because on the red with the red line, you just don't get there before you're prepared. prepared for it, and you have to get yourself acclimated to going above red line so your body can process lactate properly. But that's for a whole different period of your training. This is the piece that brings us back to Bethel.
All right.
I tell them it's clear. We're back on Bethel Road. So we just did like a little circle, or semicircle. I'm on the small chain ring. This road is a grade. It says 1. It's a little more than that.
That's on the trash and y'all you able to get in.
There was a car going into a yard on the left off camera. There was so much trash in the driveway. He was driving carefully, going between the cans and all the other crap. I'm like, why would you have that much
We're
garbage
in the
on
forest. Want to get some clips for you? Share this beautiful escapade with you guys.
This part of the ride, we are in the eastern part of the forest. We're headed south somewhat. I think southeast. It says east, yeah. So we're on the opposite side from where we were.
I heard
This
you
is
eating back
Mount
there.
Pleasant Road. I heard Paul eating, so I was about to give him the camera. So I handed the camera to him.
Man.
This is the stretch of the forest. Mount Pleasant has 3 climbs. We've done it many times. This will take us back to 1097. And we don't always just ride in zone 2 the whole time. There are parts of the ride where we get to catch up. We chat between zone 1 and zone 2. We talk about what happened over the week. We get a chance to visit while riding. So the time really moves. With the right company, you don't feel stuff. Even if you're cycling by yourself, you don't have to ride at one pace. You got to mix it up. Keeps it more interesting. So anywhere between 1 to 3, we spend a lot of time there. Then periodically, we might hit the bottom of zone 4, a little above sweet spot when we come to the climbs. But the goal is, like you can see, I'm in zone 2, the top of zone 2. I'm not concentrating on being there. I just kind of know what effort it takes to get me there and keep me there. You hear how quiet it is? Paul's in the draft properly. The wind almost kind of disappears. We've got a bit of a tailwind too, but in the forest here, it doesn't matter. With these trees, the terrain's up and down, very quiet.
Yeah.
I'm telling him we're going to keep the pressure on until 1097. So even if you ride with a group, regardless of the time of year, let's say they're going too fast or whatever, try not to blow. Let them go and then just maintain your tempo and try to finish the ride. Because over time, that will enhance your fitness. You don't want to blow and then you have to slow way down. So as you continue to build your base, you will be able to have a conversation in the higher and higher zones without gasping, because you get fitter. Because your zone 1 will begin to extend. It will take more and more work to get you into your zone 3 or zone 4 areas. Zone 1 and 2 will just grow. So your aerobic zone will increase. If you try to take shortcuts and have a short growth of your base, you pay for it later. And we don't only grow our base in the winter. It is interspersed in our annual program. Every week has a base ride. In a few kilometers, I think I'm going to have Paul come and take the lead. The road's real crappy, so I'm standing to save my wheels. There's a few ruts here and there. Overall, it's not that bad. So on these kind of roads, you pay attention to where the ruts are, plan your route. Don't get surprised. Keep your hands on the bars and your eyes on the road and read the road. Your bike will go where you look. It's not the time to be looking all around. There's a car back, so I'm waving him up so I can see over that hill. So when you're on the public road, share it by communicating with the other users and by not hogging the road. If you want to chat with your mate, it's quiet on this road like this, but you got to keep your eyes and ears tuned. When the car is approaching, go single file, let them go around you. It makes it easy for them to pass you. And they appreciate the fact that you're queuing up when you see them, as opposed to, oh, I have the right to use the road, and you're right by the yellow line. It makes it harder for them to see around you. So Paul takes the lead here.
Right, the fix that we made?
Yeah, man.
Paul was having a problem with his shifting, and we fixed it.
At least now you
We
understand what it
discussed
was
it.
doing.
We fixed it quickly. Basically, the chain was not allowing him to downshift. It was
So
jumping
you don't know what
back.
to do, you still be messing
The
with it.
tension was off. But when you know
they're
what
doing
to
a
do, you're
whole
not guessing. That's what we're talking about. So he and I
It's like
discussed it.
anything,
I
though.
explained to him
It's the
that.
same thing with your work. They don't know where to look because they don't apply themselves. The information's there.
Yep. You've got to educate yourself in whatever you
They don't
do.
do that homework.
If you're not learning in
You
your
don't read the
trade,
memos.
you're holding yourself back. Every day you go to work, you should be learning and improving so that you don't repeat the same mistakes. Every time you solve a problem, it should enhance your database, meaning the next time that problem pops up,
Yep.
oh yeah,
You
I've
all
seen
have
that.
access to
Boom,
the
this is what
same
needs to
thing,
be done.
But they don't invest their time, so
You
they
know.
don't know where the
So-
resource is. The same stuff we talk
We're talking
the
about,
resource on these
corporate America where you
skits.
work with people that say, oh, your
Gotta apply
teammates.
yourself, man.
They send a memo and nobody wants to read the memo, and the memo directs them to some resource. And then when a problem comes up that the memo was directed
Got
to
that
to correct, the people who read the memo can take advantage of that. Those who discarded it without reading
Best
are
thing you can
asking
do
for help.
Anyone is educate them.
And then they're like, okay, I don't remember the memo. Well, you never read it. If you're not going to read stuff, you're not going to know what's going on. You know. The same thing, you buy a product, don't read the manual, then you go and give the product a bad review. Because you didn't know how to work the product. You know. You have to invest the time. If you're going to do something really well, you have to invest the time. Anything you do, whether it's jogging, cycling, reading a book, any endeavor requires an investment. So you do things for the level you want to be
The
at.
money's not too much.
Paul was saying that some of the people he worked with will say, oh, they sent us too much stuff to read. That's why I told him, I said, yeah, when they're cashing their check, though, money's not too much, but they got too much stuff to read to excel at their jobs. So they do barely just enough to get by. That's not my personality. I want to be the best at whatever I do. So I always want to know stuff A to Z. So I invest the time. If I'm going to be doing something, I might as well. Otherwise, just leave it alone. You know, I tell my daughters all the time, you can make F by just staying at home. If you're going to go to school, why get an F? You're there. You'd get an F if you never showed up. So if you're going to show up, there's no reason to get an F. Anyway, everybody in my house thinks I'm nuts anyway. They have a different way of thinking. So, but my daughters appreciated it. They like my logic. I said, yeah, you can stay at home and get an F. You know, 0 is an F. So why bother getting up in the morning and going to school to get an F? Hey, you might as well do something else with your time. You get the same grade by not being there. That's the one way to look at stuff. You know. That dog won't say all the time. I said behave.
Hi.
The little girl said hi. That dog was half-heartedly barking. We could tell he wasn't that aggressive or he wasn't coming up. Paul said, oh, stop it. Oh, man, dogs. I'm chuckling because of that. He's like, oh, stop it. You can tell that Paul grew up on a farm. He talks to the animals like they're people. Like, oh, stop it. That's funny. I'm always messing with the animals. Tell the cows, we only eat plants. They just look at me like, really? So what makes us pass the time besides the company is the fact that cycling has a lot of stimuli. You know, you got to pay attention to this road surface. Then you saw the dog barking, the girl saying hi, cars coming. There's so much going on. The time just flies. Your brain is just absorbing all this stuff. And that's what it is. You know, your brain needs the stimuli. And cycling, you're just out experiencing stuff, the smells and the sounds, you know. It's just great. I think I'll take the lead here. We just keep the effort steady, but our effort level keeps increasing because when you're fighting gravity, that's what happens. So since we're trying to keep things steady state, we're in smaller gear ratios. I believe that when I start the next climb, I'm going to go on a small chain ring. Don't be shy about using smaller ratios because it saves your legs. And plus, if you have a focus of a zone you want to be in anyway, I'm already at a sweet spot. So I'm not going to stay in this gear when the road goes up because I would be in another zone. Yeah, I can work at that zone, but that's not the focus of this ride. So I shift down. You can see the speeds are slower, but look at the zone. I'm still in the same zone. I'm in a smaller gear ratio as the grade increases. It's really simple physics. It takes less force to turn those gears, which saves my muscles and allows me to aerobically power the bike using my less available, you know, the fuels that I have more available are fats. All of us. It's under our skin, whatever our body stores it. You can eat all the top foods you want. Glycogen that's not used gets converted. Anything that's not used gets converted to fat. So I'm able to use that as an endless source of energy. So regardless of what my heart rate is saying here, 164, it's fluctuating. I am riding a ratio that allows me to be very fluid because this grade is probably going to get up to around 5%. And it's long. We've been climbing this entire time.
See how long this wall is?
Yep.
So this is a pace I could sustain, especially with the gear ratio I'm in for this gradient. And that's the goal. When you climb in a mountain pass, that's what you want to do. You want to start out slowly, get into it, and then maybe midway you can start ramping things up. I think as soon as I crest, I'm going to shift up to the big chain ring for the slight downhill right there. I'm shifting the big chain ring. Then I go ahead and get in a harder gear in the back. As the road levels off here, it's going to go downhill and turn left. We're getting closer to 1097. So regardless of the terrain, pay attention to your gearing and your effort. If you don't have any of those gadgets, you know, which are not necessary for being fit, pay attention to your breathing and your effort level. If you feel like you're about 50%, you know, yeah, I can go a little harder, or I can't do this much longer, or you want to be in a zone that says, I can do this the entire day. That's what you want. All day effort, long, steady distance. And then that's when you work on your fit, your smoothness. Listen to how the bike feels. You don't want to be going hard to find out you got a bad fit. Listen to that wind. It's blowing more and more. We're heading southerly. The effort is the same, but because the terrain has changed, the speeds are up. We're right at the top of zone 2. It's a different kind of effort than when you're climbing. So I'm just trying to stay smooth because there is a little bit of a ramp as we approach 1097. I think I stand for a bit. I'm looking for the smoothest pieces of pavement. This road has some patina out here. Right here I stand. We've been riding all day, so when you stand, your legs burn. I try to stay smooth. You can see the watts went up. So you work harder out of the saddle. Paul is sitting on my left. I'm on the right because the wind's blowing from that direction. It gives him some shelter. I check for traffic. I stay on the shoulder. This is FM 1097, southwesterly. This goes by Taco Corner. We did not stop there on this ride. We had no reason to. We didn't need to stop. Another reason we come out early, the roads are clear. Later in the day, they're busier. Everybody's out. Nobody's wanting to be out when it's 13 Celsius. It's like 62, 63 degrees Fahrenheit. Oh, it's not that hot anyway. It's actually in the 50s. Yeah. 13 Celsius is about 53, not 63.
You legends. This is the stretch on the way back into the city. We're on 1488 West. And it's windy out here, of course. So what else is new, right? Never
We're on 1488 headed east, but the western part of it. They're going to be building an HEB or something out here. You see to the right used to be beautiful trees. They cleared all of them. I don't know why they do that. You could have built in between the trees, but no, that would make too much sense. All the trees are gone. Changes the look of the whole corner here. Where you see all the dirt, they got a sign over there to build here. Welcome another HEB grocery store. That's what they're constructing over there. This is eastbound after coming down Mount Magnolia. In the direction we're going towards town. It's almost 5 hours into the ride. So if you have ambitions to do bigger rides, or you're going to be racing, you'll be doing large grand fondos, a lot of distance, you know, you've got to be comfortable on your bike. You can't ride many hours if your bike does not fit your body. So invest in a fit and then get the proper equipment so you can ride regardless of the weather. We don't have that many rainy days down here, but most of our rain comes in the winter months. Listen to the wind. This stretch, we're going directly into the wind. The wind is blowing from the east like no man's business. In a little bit, I'm going to suggest to Paul that we do 30-second to 1 minute pulls. This is why you can't pay attention to speed. Look at my watts. I'm in zone 2 with the wattage. Same thing with the heart rate. You gotta try to keep it there. You can't start pushing harder because, oh, I gotta do 30 miles an hour. The body does not care how fast you're going. The body is concerned with the effort.
This way.
Take short pull. I thought we'd have a tailwind. There's no tailwind on this ride.
So just the 30 seconds to 1 minute break that Paul gives me is enough to keep our effort up. That's the nice thing about having a riding partner or a
30 seconds
group.
to 1 minute. 30 seconds to 1 minute pulls.
Just to give him a gauge. I mean, he's going to decide whether he stays there
So
30 seconds.
Rotating.
So I'm letting him know. Let's rotate so we're not fighting this wind. I told him that this wind is not going to let up. So by him getting his nose in the wind, that's how he's getting stronger. So I'm just letting him know that, you know, irrespective of me saying 30 seconds to 1 minute, you just get up there. And what I mean by saying as long as you're comfortable, meaning you got enough left to get back in the draft. You don't want to get to the front, pull like a hero, and then get dropped. That's not a good way to ride. So as we continue to go, in a few kilometers, I'm going to spot 3 riders in the distance. We had not seen that many riders out here. We saw the group who were on Bailey Grove going the other way. I'll go ahead and come to take the lead. At the next light, I'm going to suggest to Paul that we take longer pulls. And then I go ahead and just get into a rhythm. When we do longer pulls, it's anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes on our rides. We are going directly into the east wind. It is blowing. It says 19 Celsius, which is about 67, 68 degrees Fahrenheit. But it feels cooler because of the wind. It's very nice. I've already removed my gloves. And then I lifted my hat over my ears to regulate my temperature. And everything feels fine. But these little breaks where he comes to the front, it's very refreshing. I use the opportunity to drink or whatever. Just kind of you just enjoy having somebody punch a hole in the wind for you. You can hear how quiet it sounds. So I'll move up to the front.
The one that's on the seat too.
Yeah.
It leaked on the front.
Yeah, he always does that.
So what happened was he had not closed his bottles properly. I noticed it was leaking on his frame. And then, but he said it always did that. So at that point, I didn't know it was because he wasn't closing it tightly enough. You've got to check your bottle when you do that, because we're always in and out putting stuff, mixtures in the morning and so forth. So when we got back, we tested it, and sure enough, the lid was not closed properly. So your bottle should not be leaking on your frame. You make sure that the nozzle is closed and the lid is on properly. Because that stuff, if you have electrolytes in it, it gets sticky. The road is going up here. Look, let's see. Yeah, 2%. That's the thing about 1488. It's not flat. It may look flat, but it's not. I think it's at the next intersection we're going to notice 3 riders up ahead. And I suggest to him, let's go ahead and take longer poles because the wind has shifted a little bit from the north more than the east, but it's still swirling around. But it's a little less intense than when we were actually in Magnolia. We're getting closer to the woodlands. Because the area back there was wide open farmland. Right here we got buildings and other things that may be sheltering us a bit. So these short poles may not seem like much, but they make a big difference. You guys need to practice that. That will teach you how to ride in a fast-moving bunch. Because you've got to practice these drills when you're going at a moderate pace to be able to handle it at a pace where you won't have time to be thinking about the pace line. And so it should just be second nature. And you can do this with many other riders, you're not just one. Usually the more the merrier, but then people tend to speed up. So you got to avoid people speeding up. When I go up here and I come over, I try to keep the pace the same. This is why I'm telling you I see a few riders up there.
2 or 3 riders up there. Yeah, I saw them.
The light is red, so we're approaching cautiously so we don't have to stand there. I think we're backed off a bit. Now I'm going to tell them in a little bit, let's take longer poles. So I had suggested to Paul that we should take longer poles. So I go ahead and get into a rhythm here to sit at the front for anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes. We're almost at the 5-hour mark. We got at least another 90 minutes. I sit right at sweet spot. So another reason we like going out of town is we get to ride for 10 kilometer stretches or more without having to stop. So you really get a good workout. And since it's the home stretch, I go ahead and focus. There are 2 or 3 riders up the road. Some of them turn into this neighborhood. This is Lake Windcrest on the right. But I go ahead and use them as a carrot and just edge the effort. I decide, okay, I'm going to go up another zone. You know, the wind's brutally pounding us. That's why I got down low. I've got my arms horizontally placed on top of the bars, hooked into the drops. One of those pieces of tire that strips off of these cars. I don't like to go over them. They have little wires in them that can cause punctures. The shoulder looks clean, but to the far right, there's a lot of little pieces of debris that are not readily available for your eyes to receive. So I stay within a foot of the white line. I don't let up on the effort. If you notice, my heart rate now is creeping up towards the bottom of zone 4 because the wind is picking up. And right now I'm entering zone 4. So we're wrapping up the ride. I figure, yeah, I'll taste the zone a little bit. But this is sustainable. I'm about 10 beats below my time trial pace. And then keep in mind that as you ride frequently and you get fitter, the numbers may stay the same, but you will put out more power in each zone. Your body gets stronger. So your zones don't change appreciably. They go a few beats here and there. But what you do in each zone, that's what changes as your fitness increases. You do a lot more work to get you there. I think in a few kilometers we end up passing one of the riders. I mean, it's kind of in the way. I end up using the main lane because I don't, you know, it's windy. He probably wouldn't have heard us. But he didn't look very smooth. He was pushing too big a gear. Looked like he was struggling. I'm treating this section of the ride like a mountain climb. I'm staying in the mid RPM range and just driving the effort. This is where I begin to see that rider up there really close. And then I start to plan, okay, how are we going to pass him? Because he's in the same position I'm in this lane. You don't want to pass on the right. You know, that's not expected. So I start to look at my mirror and I start to check the traffic in the main lane. So I decide we'd be better off using the main lane. He's pedaling too large a gear. And I don't see how he's riding without shorts. It's 19 Celsius. It doesn't feel like 19 Celsius. It feels colder. It's barely 67, 68 degrees. And out here, it's cooler. So no. I cover my knees, at least with knee warmers. Doesn't make you tough to underdress. Somebody said, riding in cold weather in the wrong gear does not make you tough. It just says you're stupid.
was that?
That was a rider across the way that waved to us. He rides with us from time to time. Dan Jaworski. He was going the opposite direction. He may have just been starting his ride later in the day, but he waved, and that's what I was telling Paul. But anyhow, this is the kind of riding you want to do if you've been off for a while. You're trying to get ready for the next season. You're building on what you had from last season. So our zone 2 is up there. You know, you don't need to kill yourself the whole year. Build upon what you have. So my effort dropped about 10 beats. We're timing this light. It had been red, now it's green. This corner will take us up to Tamina. I believe we ended up going straight on this day because we have the option of at the next intersection to turn right. But at this time of day, they have construction on 2978, the southern part of, they don't call that part Fishcreek, but it's connected. It's the same road. So we don't like to go that way and have to slow down for traffic. Get in my car, I hate being in traffic. It's just an inefficient way to travel. Gotta keep pressing on, keeping the effort steady as we approach the next corner. This is the kind of riding you need to do on most of your endurance days throughout the year. And also, during the off season, this is when you need to build back upon the level you've maintained in the prior season. So, I hope you all got a chance to get some K's in because this is part of what we did on Saturday. Keep those doctors fired by getting your K's in.
Yep.